Okay, let's unpack this. We've been watching the political ground, shifting for months. But the recent data, the hard numbers we've got from the Electoral Commission, from internal party sources, it suggests this isn't just a bit of volatility. It feels like a fundamental change.
It really is.
So today we're doing a deep dive into this huge surge for Reform UK, both in terms of money and grassroots support.
And that's really our mission here. To get past the headlines, we need to analyze the source material. You've got to understand the sheer scale of the momentum.
Right.
But more than that, the nature of it. I mean, who is bankrolling this new force? And what does this rush of new members actually tell us about the crisis of trust in the old political system?
Let's just jump right in at the deep end, because the most surprising fact really sets the whole stage.
The big one.
Reform UK has just received the largest single donation ever made by a living person to a British political party. That's a financial shockwave you just can't overstate. So let's get into the specifics of this money bomb. We are talking about £9 million.
9 million.
Given on August 1st, 2025. The donor is a man named Christopher Harborn. He's an aviation entrepreneur, a cryptocurrency investor.
And he's linked to a couple of businesses, AML Global and Sheriff Group, right?
Exactly.
It's the magnitude that's so fascinating here. £9 million. It doesn't just put them in the financial big leagues, it completely rewrites the history books.
It breaks the record.
It absolutely shatters it. The sources confirm the previous record for a living person was £8 million. That was Lord David Sainsbury to the Liberal Democrats back in 2019.
And that's a key distinction, the living person part.
It is, because you might remember Lord John Sainsbury left £10 million to the Conservatives in his will in 2022. But that's an inheritance. It's passive. This is an active strategic investment. It's like a small startup getting a massive seed round that just dwarfs the quarterly income of its main competitors.
And it is an active investment. Harborn is British, lives out in Thailand, and his profile just, it fits that modern disruptive image the party's going for.
It does.
And what's interesting is that back in May, Nigel Farage had announced that Reform would be the first UK party to accept Bitcoin. You'd think that would be a perfect fit for a crypto guy.
But it wasn't crypto.
No, the sources are clear. The record-breaking donation was not in cryptocurrency.
No, it was good old-fashioned sterling. But, his profile and his history are, I think, much more interesting than the currency he used.
How so?
Well, if you connect the dots, this is a man who consistently invests in whatever he sees as the main disruptive political force. He backed the Conservatives, but when Boris Johnson was the disruptor,
right,
he poured £6 million into the Brexit Party, including a huge £3 million injection right on the eve of the 2019 election.
And even after Johnson left office, he still gave $1 million to the office of Boris Johnson.
Exactly. So his pattern isn't about loyalty to one party. It suggests a strategic commitment to funding major political change wherever he sees it happening.
That kind of sustained engagement, moving his money around, it naturally raises questions. I mean, £9 million.
It demands an explanation.
Farage was pressed on it, specifically on the idea of a quid pro quo.
And for you listening, quid pro quo just means a promise of something in return.
Right.
And Farage was very clear in denying it. He said he speaks to Harborn, maybe once a month, maybe once every 6 weeks. But he insisted, and this is a direct quote, "I've not promised him a single thing in return for his donation."
So he framed Harborn's motivation as purely ideological.
Purely.
He claimed Harborn just thinks the UK hasn't properly capitalized on Brexit or embraced, and I quote, 21st century technologies. We hear that phrase a lot. What does it really mean here?
It's the core of Reform's pitch to the modern business world. When they talk about 21st century technologies, they mean deregulation, embracing digital transformation, decentralization, and really critically, a much lighter touch from the state on innovation, finance, and especially on crypto.
So for an investor like Harborn, it's an investment in a future he wants to see.
Exactly. It's his vision for Britain, paid for in cash.
Okay, so we have this £9 million shockwave, but that's really just the tip of the iceberg. The real structural challenge for the big parties emerges when we look at the total fundraising figures for the third quarter of 2025. So that's July through to September.
Yes, and it's important for you to know parties have to report any donation over a certain threshold. For this quarter, it was £11,180.
That's the tripwire.
That's the tripwire for major contributions, and what it shows is just a stunning financial imbalance.
So let's compare those Q3 figures. You factor in Harborne's colossal contribution, and Reform UK gets 10.3 million in total donations.
Just incredible. Now look at the two legacy parties.
The Conservatives brought in about, what, 4.5, 4.6 million?
Somewhere in that range, yeah. And Labour trailed way behind on roughly £1.9 to 2.1 million.
And the Liberal Democrats scraped together a million.
A million. I mean, the gap is just colossal. And the key thing here is that this is the first quarter since the last general election where Reform UK has actually outraised the Conservative Party.
That's a huge milestone.
For one quarter, thanks almost entirely to one check, Reform became the most financially dominant party in Britain. It just shows you how vulnerable the traditional parties are to these mega donors.
But it's not all about the massive checks, is it? To really get the picture, you have to look at where the smaller, more routine money is coming from.
Absolutely. So the Conservatives, for example, got $1 million from a tech entrepreneur, Jeremy Elliott Sand. So their base is still in that world.
Right, business and tech.
Labor, on the other hand, relies heavily on organized labor. Their biggest donor was the Unite Union with $362,625 million.
Very different model.
Completely. And the Lib Dems' largest sum was £50,000 from a business owner, Neil Powell Cook. It just shows that while Reform is relying on this huge individual capital, the established parties have this mix of big donors, unions, and businesses.
Now, obviously, this financial news did not land in a vacuum. We have to be impartial and present the counter-arguments.
Of course. The Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, she immediately tried to downplay it. She called Harborne's donation a one-off.
She tried to shift the goalposts a bit.
She did. She argued that the Tories have still received more overall since July 2024, 14.4 million versus Reform's 13.5 million. And she stressed her party's much wider breadth and depth of donors.
And what about the Lib Dems?
Their spokesperson, Lisa Smart, she took aim at the whole system. She criticized the eye-watering donations and argued that elections shouldn't be bought by a small handful of individuals.
Which perfectly frames the conflict here, doesn't it? Whether political influence should come from democratic appeal or from private financial power.
And if that financial shockwave showed a vulnerability to single donors, this next part, the membership data, shows the deeper structural crisis gripping the establishment.
We're shifting from money to people.
From corporate money to grassroots power.
And that power is proving, well, revolutionary. The big news is that Reform UK has officially overtaken the Labour Party. They are now the largest political party in Britain by total membership.
This is just unprecedented. Let's just pause on those numbers for a second so you can absorb them.
Reform UK has a public counter on their website, and it's showing 268,703 members. Labour, who keep these figures very, very quiet.
A closely guarded secret.
Had internal data seen by the Times that put them at only 250,000 members.
That 250,000 figure for Labour is it's a systemic collapse.
It is.
I mean, think about it. The party has lost a staggering 100,000 members since the general election. Even more dramatically, their paid-up supporters have basically been cut in half since Keir Starmer became leader in 2020.
Down from over 500,000 under Corbyn.
It's an organizational meltdown. It's not just a statistic.
No, you're right. Losing 100,000 paying members means losing thousands of volunteers, the people who staff phone banks, stuff envelopes, and critically, knock on doors.
The machine.
It's the erosion of the physical infrastructure of a party machine. It shows this deep disillusionment among activists who feel Starmer's Labour has just abandoned them.
Okay, but let me just challenge that Reform figure for a moment.
Go on. They're a new party, relatively, with this rapid growth. Is that huge membership number really an active, committed base? Or could it be, padded with dormant supporters, people who just signed up to an email list years ago?
That is a very fair question. And parties rarely disclose that active versus passive ratio. But even if we assume Reform's base has a higher dormancy rate, the sheer scale of it gives them immense organizational potential and, crucially, a massive digital reach.
They'd already overtaken the Tories, hadn't they?
Oh, yes. They overtook the Conservatives, who had only 123,000 members way back on Boxing Day last year. For context, the Greens have about 180,000. Lib Dems are around 83,000.
So Reform now has an activist base that is numerically larger than the two main legacy parties put together.
It's incredible.
And Nigel Farage, of course, seized on this. His reaction was, Reform is now the largest political party in British politics. A huge milestone for us. The age of two-party politics is dead.
The money and the membership, those are the hard facts. But we have to connect them to the broader political momentum we see in the sources to really get how dangerous this is for the establishment.
The statistics are translating into real-world success.
Clearly.
Okay, let's look at those other metrics that show this is accelerating. The sources highlight that reform has been consistently leading in national opinion polls since the spring.
And it's more specific than that. They are leading in every single one of the last 150 voter intention polls.
150.
That kind of consistency, it's not a polling error. It's a sustained, undeniable swing. And on the ground, they're winning. They've gained more council by-election wins than all the other parties combined since May.
Which shows that new membership base is being mobilized.
Effectively, yes.
And then there's the ultimate political signal, isn't there? Defections.
Dumping ship.
We're seeing a steady stream of figures crossing the floor. Ben Bradley, the former Tory MP, and significantly, their first peer in the House of Lords, Lord Offord. These aren't just numbers. They're establishment figures panicking.
And this brings us back to a really fascinating financial paradox.
Okay.
Despite all this success in private donations and membership, reform gets almost no public funding. This is the money that's allocated based on past election performance.
And the disparity is massive. Let's break that down.
Yeah.
Between July and September, Reform received just 227,835 daters in public funds.
Which is completely dwarfed by the others. The Conservatives got £2.3 million in that same period.
Wow.
The Liberal Democrats got $1 million. So this reinforces a crucial point for you. Reform's entire surge, its financial firepower, its operational growth, is being fueled almost entirely by private capital and public frustration. It's a machine being built completely outside the state funding system.
So when we put all these pieces together, what does it all mean? We've got a record-breaking donation that delivered a quarterly fundraising win over the government. At the same time, we had the staggering news that they're now the biggest party by membership.
It's a confluence of financial power and grassroots energy.
And it signals a massive structural shift right ahead of the local elections next May.
And if we connect all those dots, I think the key takeaway for you is the duality here. This movement is, at the same time, capitalizing on a mass movement of members fueled by deep dissatisfaction,
Right.
while also being critically reliant on these huge single donors like Harborne for its financial muscle. It's a structure built on both popular discontent and private wealth.
And that reliance leaves us with a provocative final thought, doesn't it? If one single donation can instantly make a party the financial leader for a whole quarter, and if these membership surges reflect a fundamental crisis of trust in the establishment, what does this dependence on both mass discontent and mega donors tell us about the future stability of British politics? Is the two-party system really dead? Or is it just being radically redefined by funding dynamics that make it so vulnerable to the whims of a few very wealthy individuals?
That is the question to mull over as we head towards the next general election in 2029.
A fascinating moment. Until next time, keep digging deeper into the sources.